All right, so get this. Today we're going to take a deep dive into something pretty fascinating. And honestly, a little controversial, too.
Oh, do tell.
It's marriage customs from all around the world.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What about them?
Well, specifically, we're looking at the practice of a bride price. You know, like where the groom's family has to make a payment to the bride's family.
Right.
It's a tradition that pops up all over, and we're going to see how it works in like 10 different countries, all based on this video we both watched.
I'm so ready for this. It's crazy how different this one tradition can be depending on where you are.
I know, right? It shows how much economics, social stuff, it all plays a part.
For sure.
Speaking of economic realities, I was blown away by the whole bride market thing in Bulgaria. Like, they really have a market to, like, negotiate prices for brides.
Yeah, the market's in Starzagora, and they usually hold it on the first Saturday of Orthodox Lent. They have music and dancing and all that, but under it all, it's all about money. And the price tag, it's wild.
How much are we talking?
Like anywhere from $7,500 to over $20,000.
Wow. I always knew that bride price was a thing, but dang.
Yeah.
The video said that looks matter, obviously, but it's still a lot about whether a woman's a virgin or not.
It's pretty intense how strong some of these old school values still are, but things are changing all over, right? Like with the internet.
Right.
Women in Bulgaria and everywhere, really, are getting more options to connect with people outside their own little bubbles.
So maybe these traditions are changing with globalization.
Maybe.
Okay, so speaking of globalization, what about South Korea? I had no clue their birth rate's gotten so low that the government's actually paying guys in rural areas to marry brides from other countries.
Yeah, they're trying to, like, stop their population from going down, but it shows just how much pressure there is to get married.
I guess.
And the video said that Korean media makes men look amazing all the time, so it's tough for women. Plus, there's that problem of online violence against them.
It's rough that all that stuff is making this whole marriage thing even harder. But at least the video said things are getting more open to, like, mixing cultures, right?
Right. Those international dating sites are doing crazy good business these days, and more parents are cool with their daughters marrying someone from a different country.
Makes sense.
Plus, more Korean women want a partner who sees them as an equal.
That's awesome.
Definitely a good thing.
Okay, from a shrinking population to a huge diaspora, our next stop is India. Did you know that a ton of Indian women, over 2/3, end up marrying guys from other countries?
It is a crazy stat. The video said that Indian culture is super big on loyalty in marriage, and they have a pretty low divorce rate. But they also want women to get married young, like ideally before they're even 20. That definitely limits their options.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's like they're caught between tradition and, like, wanting to be free, then add in all the money problems. I get that's why the whole mail order brides thing is getting bigger.
Yeah. Sadly, some women see it as their only way to get better opportunities and not be treated badly.
That's so sad. Okay, so from India, where the culture is, like, super intricate, we go to Malaysia, where your ethnicity kind of decides how you view marriage.
Right. Like Malaysian women who are Chinese are more chill about marriage than native Malaysians.
Really?
Yeah. But just like in India, the whole mail order bride thing's getting big in Malaysia, too.
It seems like it's always about inequality and, like, not having enough money. But even though Malaysian women are all about family and stuff, they still want to be independent, you know?
Absolutely. All over the world, women want things to be more equal and, like, have more control over their lives.
Okay, so next up is Egypt. You know, ancient history and all that. Plus, let's be honest, everyone knows Egyptian women are considered really beautiful.
They are, and the video said they're super loyal and dedicated to family. But sadly, they have to follow a lot of rules in their society.
Like what?
Well, there's patriarchy, arranged marriages, and a lot of them are struggling financially.
Yeah, the video mentioned how rich guys from the Gulf states just straight up buy young brides, even though there are laws against it.
It's awful.
Super messed up. It's no surprise so many Egyptian women think marrying a Western guy is their only way out.
Yeah, they just want a better life.
It's heartbreaking, but it also shows how strong they are. They haven't given up hope. Okay, switching gears to China. Their one-child policy has made it so there are way more guys than girls.
And that means the competition to get married is insane. Parents are demanding these crazy high dowries, sometimes between $2,000 and $50,000.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a huge burden on families.
Plus, they have this horrible thing called shengnu.
Ugh, yeah. That's what they call women who aren't married by 27, basically calling them leftover women.
Awful.
It's crazy how much pressure they put on women, but more and more Chinese women are like, nope, I'm getting an education and a career.
Good for them.
Some are even looking for love outside of China because they want a partner who respects them and their goals. It really shows that women are fighting for change and more equality.
For sure. Okay, let's head over to Latvia. They actually have more women than men, but their record on women's rights is pretty bad.
Yeah, the video said domestic violence is a big problem there, and women don't have a lot of opportunities, especially in rural areas. So you can see why so many Latvian women want to marry someone from another country.
It just goes to show how complicated these decisions are. It's not just about love.
Right.
Okay, on to Vietnam. I hear it's a really popular place for Western guys to find wives.
The video talked about how Vietnamese women are known for being responsible, dedicated to their families, and hardworking.
I also heard that Vietnamese women often prefer older men who are more stable.
Yeah, like 5 to 10 years older. They also really want families and kids. It's part of their culture.
Makes sense.
It's really interesting how these cultural preferences like mix and match when people from different cultures get together.
Right. The video also said that Vietnam's history with the West, especially France and the U.S., has made some Vietnamese women want to experience those cultures more, maybe even find a husband from there.
It's crazy how history still shapes how people connect.
All right, time for Afghanistan. They have a lot of traditions and social rules that affect marriage.
Yeah, it's a very conservative society, and women don't have a lot of say in who they marry.
Sadly, bride price is still big there, and the money goes straight to the family, not the bride.
And forced arranged marriages and domestic violence are still big problems. It's not a good situation for women there, especially since they don't have many job opportunities.
Yeah, it's rough. So for some, marrying a foreigner is their only shot at escaping.
Basically, it's about survival.
Our last stop is South Africa, which has a really diverse mix of cultures. And there they have this thing called lobola. It's like a payment the groom gives to the bride's family.
It's like a promise and a way of recognizing how important she is.
Right. They used to use cattle, but now it's usually money.
But it's still based on, like, how much cattle would cost. It shows how tradition can stick around even when things change.
It's wild how those norms survive. And just like in other places, the amount of lobola depends on things like how old the bride is, how she looks, and even how tall she is.
It's remarkable.
The average age for getting married in South Africa is 22, but the video said a lot of women, especially in cities, are choosing to stay single.
It seems like they're putting more focus on their own goals and independence now that they have better access to education and jobs.
Totally. And for some South African women, marrying a guy from a different country is another way to get ahead, especially if they don't have good opportunities at home.
It shows you how cultural tradition, money problems, and what people want all get mixed up when you're talking about marriage.
It's been a wild ride checking out all these different customs. Who knew marriage could be so different around the world?
Right. It makes you think about how much history, economics, and social norms shape how people view love, marriage, and family.
It's been eye-opening to see how marriage really works in different places and all the tough stuff women have to deal with.
It definitely makes you realize we need to talk about these things with more understanding and always remember that everyone deserves to have the same rights and opportunities.
Now, as we finish up this part of our deep dive, we really want you to think about this. With all the changes happening in the world, how do you think marriage traditions will change in the future?
It's a tough question. What's clear is that technology and globalization are changing how we connect and build relationships. It'll be fascinating to see what happens next.
Absolutely. The conversation about marriage customs is far from over. Keep learning, keep challenging what you think you know, and keep talking about it.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the amazing world of marriage customs from all over the globe.
So we just went through marriage customs in 10 different countries. And I gotta say, it seems like bride price is almost always about money, right?
It really does. And a lot of these places, women just don't have many opportunities. Plus, there's poverty, and the way they treat women is so unequal. That's why a lot of them make the decisions they do about marriage.
It's sad to think about. Like, for a lot of these women, getting married isn't about love or anything. It's just what they got to do to survive.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how much of a choice they really have, especially when society's always telling them what they can and can't do.
It's tough. But things are changing, though, right?
Mm.
Globalization and technology are making a difference. Look at all those international dating sites and how more people are okay with marrying someone from a different culture.
Totally. It's wild to see how cultures are changing right in front of us.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what love, marriage, and family will even mean in the future.
It's like old traditions are bumping up against modern life. And, hey, what about how media and tech shape how we see things? Remember how South Korean media makes men look so good all the time?
Oh, yeah, that doesn't help. It just reinforces all those bad stereotypes about women. We got to be more critical of the media and how it portrays women.
Totally. We also talked about some really serious stuff like trafficking brides and forcing people into marriage.
We can't ignore that. We got to work to stop it from happening and make sure everyone has the right to choose who they marry.
Absolutely. Okay, before we wrap up, what are some of the big things that stood out to you from all this?
I think the biggest thing is realizing that marriage isn't the same everywhere. Yeah, people get married all over the world, but it means such different things to different cultures, and there are so many things that influence it, like history, money, social rules, and what people dream of.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
It's been crazy to see how different marriage really is around the world and all the challenges women face.
It makes you realize how important it is to be sensitive and understanding. Every culture has its own story and its own way of looking at marriage.
Absolutely. We all need to work together to make sure everyone has the same rights and opportunities, no matter where they're from.
I know. It's kind of crazy to think how the internet and stuff is changing, like traditions that have been around forever.
Yeah. And remember, even within one country, people can have totally different ideas about marriage. We've just scratched the surface here.
For sure. So before we wrap this up, I want to be clear. We weren't here to judge anyone's customs or say what's right or wrong.
Exactly.
We just wanted to show you guys how different people see love, relationships, and family around the world.
It's important to like be cool and understanding,
Yeah.
Each culture has its own thing going on, its own history and values.
Absolutely. And the world's getting smaller, right? So we got to be even better at understanding each other and respecting each other's cultures.
Absolutely.
Who knows? Maybe one day you'll find yourself checking out a bride market in Bulgaria, or maybe you'll be having tea with a potential mother-in-law in South Korea.
That'd be cool. But even if you don't, what we've talked about today can help you understand your own relationships better.
Yeah, and appreciate how awesome and different people are all over the world.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep talking about all this stuff.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into marriage customs around the world. It's been fun.
Catch you guys next time.